And now gently beginning to shift the focus to the chest area. And within the chest, of course, are these vital organs of life, of our breath, of the lungs, the pulmonary system, a system of ventilation, and then right next door, the systems of circulation, the cardiovascular system, the heart. And I invite us to just feel into our chest, which is the home of perhaps getting us in touch with all that is fragile and all that is precious. For it's all here, this life. You know, we speak about uncertainty, of course, with the pandemic, but in the realm of uncertainty, there's been uncertainty since the moment of our conception. It's like a candle that has been lit. And of course, with the candle, we know it can be blown out at any time. And of course, at some point, the wax all burns up. And there's this extinguishment. And so this is how our life is. Ever since conception, there's been this uncertainty, but the pandemic perhaps has put us all even greater in touch of the fragileness of life, and as well as the preciousness of life. This is just sensing into the chest, revealing to us the sense of fragility and the preciousness, and I'm bringing this up as a short reflection that may support us in understanding the importance of reconciliation, of beginning to make peace, for life will not go on forever. And if there's things that are left unsaid, things that need to be resolved, perhaps it can begin now. And this beginning now is at first sensing into our own hearts to the times that we've been hard on ourselves. And again, with our wisdom, with our understanding, with our mindfulness practice, we begin to understand and see more clearly the conditioning that led to this unkindness. Feelings of unworthiness or inadequacy, deficiency, a lack of self-confidence, the shame, the humiliation, and beginning to make peace with ourselves that these stories, these narratives that I've identified with is not all of me. That I no longer want to be held hostage in this prison of my own unworthiness, my own shame. Beginning this gesture of making peace to my own heart. This beautiful process of beginning to invite in making peace with our own hearts, to the times we've been hard on ourselves, judgmental, critical. This making peace is not building our narcissism or egocentricity. It's actually, in its opposite, building our sense of humility and great kindness that includes ourselves. Beginning to make peace, reconciling to the times I've been hard on myself. Perhaps a greater understanding that due to my upbringing, due to my conditioning, that these stories of my own inadequacy or unworthiness can make sense of it. Yes, this is why. Perhaps now, though, with awareness, seeing that we're more than just those identifications. Beginning to reconcile, beginning to make peace with our own hearts. And that everything that I've done in my life has led me into this moment. It's all been a part of what's brought me here. Making peace to the times I've been hard on myself. And just gradually beginning to open this making peace and beginning to include those that I've hurt that due to my own unawareness or fears, perhaps even in times of wanting to protect myself, I've hurt another. And beginning this deep work of reconciliation to the times I've hurt another. It's powerful for us to honestly acknowledge, yes, there's some ownership, some acknowledgement, yes, this is true, I have hurt another, and perhaps what can we do about it as far as perhaps if needed to apologize, but also importantly to, once I understand that my actions cause pain to another, is to try not to do it again. And this is how we can begin to pay it back. To become again, in that poetic, beautiful expression, to become a guardian of the world, a protector. Making peace to the times I've hurt another. And as we sit with this, there may be different instances that come up in your life that might be very painful to remember, to experience, but making peace, honoring that time when you did hurt another and what you were living with, the fear, the pain, the woundedness, the exhaustion, whatever it be, and beginning to reconcile. This learning to not try to repeat it again is what helps pay it back and to begin to forgive ourselves. Making peace to the times I've hurt another. Yes, this is the big work, to forgive ourselves as well for the times I've hurt another. Trying not to repeat it best we can. And letting our heart expand as well to include the times that others have hurt me. And acknowledging perhaps the resentment, the grudges, the hurt, the pain. And perhaps just as we begin to understand that the times I've hurt others come from my own unawareness, my own fears, my woundedness, those that hurt me. It came from their own unawareness, their own fears, their own pain, their own unawareness, just like me. And even though it may not excuse the actions, perhaps it brings some understanding to them. But again, also to begin to neutralize any harborings of resentment or grudges, since it's so painful to continue to feed them, to carry them on. Making peace, reconciling, making amends, even to those that hurt me. There may be very painful incidences that you remember, and just to be gentle with yourself. Beginning also to reconcile. This harboring of resentments is too heavy of a burden to continue to carry. The times I've been hard on myself, born out of my own conditioning and identifications, and beginning to see through these with awareness, not being held hostage by them. Reconciling to those I've hurt by learning the lesson, not repeating it, becoming a protector, a guardian. And making peace to those that hurt me. Just as I've hurt another, others have hurt me. All coming from unawareness, from our own conditioning, our own woundedness. May we all discover the gateways into the heart and To continue to carry resentment and grudges is too much of a pain to bear. Making peace. And I want to just invite in for all of us to invite in this peace within you. That you could be held by it, you can rest in it. That for this time you can just be with yourself as you are, that there's nothing more that you need to get, nothing that has to be pushed away. For now, inviting in that you can just rest in this goodness of the heart, of loving kindness, of peace, and just these moments resting into it, to be content. You don't need anything else. Nothing has to be pushed away. Imperfectly perfect as we all are, just resting in this heart, here and now, of some loving kindness, of some taking rest, being held in this goodwill, making peace, experiencing peace. And as you're resting with this sense of ease within your being, just inviting that in, contentment and ease, and just allowing yourself here and now to just take rest in it, to be held. You don't even have to try to make it happen, just letting yourself receive it, letting yourself just rest in this heart of goodwill. And as we're resting and residing with this goodwill, we can invite in some of our near and dear ones, our family, our friends, our community. There's so much space in this goodwill, there's plenty of room for they also, inviting them in to take rest with it as well. That may all of my near and dear ones, may they experience rest and ease within their beings. So it's just inviting in those that are near and dear to our work colleagues, our acquaintances, plenty of room. Inviting in, may they also be at ease. Inviting in our neighbors and even strangers. There's plenty of room with this open heart. Even extending an invitation to the creatures great and small. May we all find rest in the heart of some goodwill. Just taking rest and being held in this heart of loving kindness. Letting this goodwill just extend to all the creatures great and small that live on or in the earth, or live in the waters, or live mostly in the air. All beings. All creatures, all humans, all things great and small, may all beings find rest in the heart and experience it in loving kindness. May this world rest in loving kindness to its very core. May all of the viruses learn to coexist with one another and with humans and with all beings and not causing harm. All organisms, all beings, may they find the gateways into the heart, and may there be peace. Resting in this heart of loving kindness. Letting this goodwill, inviting it in through this whole world and through this universe, may all beings dwell with peace. So we'll just enter into a little period of some silence, and you're welcome just to feel into your heart if there's areas where it feels like you want to attend with more reconciliation, or perhaps just dwelling and resting with contentment and ease, with an open heart. So we'll honor just these few minutes in the silence to be within your own heart, being present. So this life, fragile and precious, and offering some gratitude for ourselves in this life. May all beings dwell with peace. I'm just honoring whatever came up for you during this time of practice. And may there be peace. It begins inside each of our own hearts. May all beings dwell with peace. Thank you. And I would like to just end with another reading that really speaks to me about the practices of mindfulness. And it is said that actually in Mandarin, the character for the word mindfulness has both the heart and the mind within the definition of mindfulness. And in English, we don't really have such a word. I mean, we could call it heart mindfulness or kindfulness. But I love that within Mandarin, the word mindfulness implies both the mind and the heart, and the development of both. And to me, with the development of both, then that grows into wisdom. If anybody ever asks me, what's wisdom? It's this great understanding and great heart of compassion. Just like a bird needs two wings to fly, the development of wisdom needs this awareness, this mindfulness, and the quality of the heart of love. So this poem is written by an American Palestinian poet. Her name is Naomi Shihab. And it's a powerful story about this poem that in the 1980s, she and her husband were married in the United States, in Texas, and they decided to do a honeymoon trip and travel to the end of South America. And they went by train and by bus. And while they were on a bus in Colombia, I was sharing with you about Colombia earlier, and during the 1980s there was a lot of wars at that time. But she and her husband were on this bus traveling in Colombia, and they were held up by a militia group, soldiers. They were robbed, lost their passport, their money. They actually even witnessed an Indian in a white poncho that was murdered right in front of them. After the guerrillas, the militants left, they were in a kind of a rural area in Colombia, and they walked to this nearby village, and they were greeted by a very kind man who kind of let them know how they could get their passport and money, that they would have to travel to another city, a larger city, Cali, in order to get some money wired and a passport. For whatever reason, it was decided that Naomi would stay in that village and her husband would go on to Cali to get the passport and the money. And so Naomi says that she walked into the village square, the small village. There's a central area that people gather. And she sat down on some bench, and she got out her pen and paper. And she said, these words came to me. And she'll say, I didn't write this poem. I was just the scribe. I was just like a secretary. I just wrote down what was told to me. And these are the words that she wrote down. And to me, this really describes the heart of mindfulness practice. It's called kindness. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things and feel the future dissolve in a moment, like salt in a weakened broth. and what you held in your hand and what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go. So you know how desolate the landscapes can be between the regions of kindness, and how you ride and ride thinking the bus will never stop, the passengers eating corn and chicken will stare out those windows forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where an Indian in a white poncho lies dead on the side of the road. And you must see how this could be you, and how that he too was someone who journeyed through the nights with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. And you must wake up with sorrow and speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows, and you see the size of that cloth. And then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. And then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. It's only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and to purchase bread. It's only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend. And then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. It's only kindness that makes sense anymore. And to me, this is the heart of mindfulness practice, is great kindness. Born out of wisdom, born out of understanding the nature of suffering in its path to great freedom.